order. And family is order.
Amen.
You know? And when you got a family that does not mind coming to church and saying amen and being there with you, then that says a volume to other people. You know, but when they look at your child and they have an attitude on their face, like, oh, here we go again. Why am I here? Then it speaks volume also to like what's going on. You know, one thing they told me as a minister when I was growing up in the ministry is that they said, when you're preaching, everybody's looking at your wife. And if she ain't smiling or saying amen, they ain't going to receive what you got to say. Because they want to know, okay, he's doing all this. Is everything right at the house?
That's right.
And they don't see no smile on her face. They don't see no amen. They don't see no hand clapping or preach. They're like, oh, okay. Maybe I don't want to hear what you got to say. You know. So you cannot spend more ministry time than family time. That's not what God has called you to do. Your family has to be first, and then ministry will fall in line. And He'll honor your ministry if you honor your family. He'll honor your ministry, and you'll see ministry grow. And what I've learned is you have to make time. Don't think time is just going to happen. You have to make family time, because if you don't, it's so easy to get caught up. You have to make dates. You have to set aside time. We ain't doing nothing. We're going to do such and such. We're going to take this time off. We're going to do this. You know, you might have to tell, hey, go talk to my assistant because I'm not available. If you ain't dying, don't call me. You know. And some people say that sounds harsh. No, I got to survive and do something. Because every time your cell phone rings, your kids like, okay, Daddy, why you do out there? I thought we were on vacation. You know. So if you ain't dying, don't call me. I got an assistant. You can call him. You got to do that. Because otherwise, it will not only damage your family, but it'll damage your ministry. It'll damage your ministry. And then we're blaming God for something He ain't even called us to do.
That is so true. You know, growing up, my father was very heavy into family time. And when he became heavily involved in the church, that changed. It changed so much that it really affected our whole family. Even now, my brothers, they still have problems with that. My father died, you know, years ago, but they still have issues with church, because every time, you know, we was in church so much, and then something was going on. They was calling my father for this and calling him. The pastor was calling for that, and this was breaking down, and that was happening. So whenever we would plan something, he was leaving. So my brothers now, you know, they still have issues, you know, like you said, you know, we in church, and, you know, they don't want to be there. They got the looks on their face, and we all looking like, here we go again, you know. And, you know, I went through it for a season. It was like I was so tired of church because they kept calling my house and wasn't this, but my brothers, they still suffer from that. They still have an issue with church and church people because, and they'll tell you, no, they always wanted this, they always did this. And, you know, they got to the point they really blamed, because my father, like I said, everything was ministry. Everything was this for the church, this for the pastor. So even when he died, you know, soon we thought he was going to die, of course, but they blamed the church, they blamed God, they still do.
Because they feel like he
exactly.
took my
spent
dad
all this
early.
time, you know, did all this, and, you know, my dad died at an early age, and they still have it. And, you know, I don't know, I mean, it took me a little time to get over, but I did get over it, because like you said, I had to get real with God, and I had to act, you know, and I had that real moment with God, but they still, for them, I mean, what can you do? What do you do? What do you say? Because
I think they have to, if you can get them in settings like this, because it's not going to happen in church unless they come and they're able to be in an atmosphere where you can minister one-on-one with them and deal with their issues one-on-one and let them know what they're feeling. But you get them in sessions like this where it touches something and they say, well, such and such and such and such, and they let out a true feeling. then you're able to respond to the feeling and let them know that won't God. You know, what has happened with them is they don't realize that's not God. You had a one-on-one with God, and God let you know that won't me. You know, I'm all the work that was done. Y'all did it in my name, but that won't me tell you not to spend time with your family. And so you have to get them in this type of setting and let them know that won't God, because nobody unless you go to a different type of church, you ain't gonna hear that, because it's going on the internet, but I don't care. Some pastors are scared to say that because they believe it's going to cut back the volunteer time that they have with the people coming and working. But you don't realize it's actually the opposite. If I teach you how to be the head of your home, it gives you the ability to leave your home and come work at church. And you don't got no resentment at your house. And your wife is like, go ahead, the church needs work. Just make sure you don't stay out there too long. And you come back home. Because they recognize that the church is not trying to take my husband. The church is trying to put my husband back in the house. And because they are, I don't mind sharing him. But anytime somebody think that you're trying to take them, they pull you closer. And they say, you can't go. Because the church is trying to take you from me. And then they get him deep. God is trying to take you from me. Because we identify God with the church. And God ain't always in all the churches. Or the activities that they do. Or the leaders of the churches. And the things they do. And so when I can put brothers back in their homes and tell them be the head, then their wives don't mind them coming out. Matter of fact, they pushing them. You better get, you know, Pastor need help, you better get out there. Because they know I'm not trying to take them from them, I'm trying to build them up. And they don't mind them coming out and doing work in the church, because they know the church, that's going to be a time where they can build their husband up and down and go back into the house and be the man they want to be. So they got to get into a church or a setting where they'll be honest about what they feel. And they can be honest. Because there are a lot of churches where you can't be honest about how you feel. Because they're going to call it blasphemy. You mean to tell me you put your family before God? What's wrong with you? They don't want to hear that because they already saw their daddy die. So they're about ready to tell you something. There ain't going to be no holy.
Because that's even with wives as well. You have a lot of women who are just in the church, working in the church. And they're not thinking about, you know, if they married, they're not thinking about their husband or being at home with their husband. I know it's been years ago that I heard a lady, well, not that many years ago, and she was preaching. And while she was preaching, she's like, yeah, my husband this and he this, but I went anyway, and I'm here, and I'm preaching, and da-da. And I was thinking in my mind, first of all, how do you get before the people and talk like that? But what are you doing at home that you're, you know, that it's like you was preaching with an attitude because the husband was not there, but it's like they had issues, you know, they had marriage problems at home. But the wife, to me, was a little out of order by the way she was just responding, even through her preaching and teaching. So it's like a lot of times, too, husbands are at home saying how the church is pulling their wife, and with women, it's really, they always, they say the pastor, who that pastor think he is, or the pastor's pulling my wife out there.
Please don't call my name.
And stuff like
no husband looking for me.
You have a lot of husbands who do that. They do.
Yeah, I mean, it's true because no man want to hear another man name in his house 24/7, and then they come to church. I can't preach to them. I can't give them no word. They look. I'm trying to figure out why you looking at me so evil. So your wife just put me on this pedestal in your house. You need to be more like Pastor. Please don't say that. Please, whatever. Don't say that. Don't say you need to be more like Pastor. Don't.
Until you talk to me.
Don't say that, because that you ain't helping your marriage. he about ready to get a gun and come find me. Because you don't want her hurt out there. Don't do that. That allow, if I could tell women anything, leave him alone and allow him to come to church and let me do my job. And if you let me do my job, because you can't make him a man. I can't make him a man, but I can touch what's in him that is a man. You can't, because only another man can touch another man. I can touch what's in him that's a man that will cause him to want to be a man. But all you're going to cause him to want to do is not hurt your mouth. So if you will leave him alone and live a life before him that he'll want to come out, then I can do what I'm supposed to do as a leader to cause that man in him to rise up and be what he needs to be. But you got too many wives trying to preach the pastor's sermon to the husband, and the husband don't want to hear it. If he wanted to hear the sermon, he would came to church. And he ain't come to church because he didn't want to hear the sermon. And then you're still painting the same picture he already got in his mind about preachers already. They want the women and the money. And you backing up both of them because you gone and your money gone. So he think I'm the church pimp.
Oh.
And he want to deal with me like he would deal with a pimp on church in the street. Well, if we would not do that, you know, and just allow God to minister to that man and get him in the house. If you get him in the house, and it's the right house, God will do the rest. God will do the rest.
I think that's why it's important that the pastor be a family man. Years ago, mothers would tell how Bishop D. Lawrence Williams in particular would go around the cabin and pray and ask them, Mother, have you cooked your dinner? Did you clean your house before you came out? And if they couldn't answer yes, he would tell them, you need to get up and go home now. They would go home and do what they needed to do. Leave the food on the stove so all their husbands would have to do is prepare their plate and come back and then get in prayer. But if the pastor does not teach women to be wives and mothers because of what you had said earlier, that presents a problem in the home. But if the pastor is a family man, a true family man, and understands that it's what families is truly about, he does exactly what you said.
I think what you need in that instance is, yes, the pastor has to do it, but his wife has to do a lot of that.
Oh, you saying the first lady?
Yeah, the first lady.